I'm just gonna get straight to the point. These NBA playoffs have already been decided. Yeah, you've got Boston trying to defend their title, and you've got the Lakers with the most explosive duo in the league. But OKC, well, they're on a completely different level, because they just capped off arguably the most dominant regular season in NBA history, and yet somehow they're still not even the runaway favorites. No one's putting them in that dynasty conversation, and no one's saying that this might already be over. So I'm here to convince you that it should be, because those boys out in OKC, they are way better than what the media has been telling you. And this year's NBA playoffs ain't even gonna be close.
The Thunder, a Boost Mobile bundle, WWE Royal Rumble. Lakers in 5.
Now, coming into this season, the Thunder had respect, but they weren't feared. They were the team with the best rebuild in the league and a group of guys you knew was coming eventually. But a title threat, well, that felt like a conversation for the future. Vegas had them at plus 900 to win it all, behind Boston and behind Denver, and just barely ahead of teams like Phoenix and LA. The talent was there, but the trust wasn't, and the narratives practically wrote themselves. People said that they were too young, or that it was still early, or that they were one piece away. And sure, SGA had emerged as a legitimate star, but could he lead a team through the gauntlet of the playoffs? Chet Holmgren had just finished a solid rookie campaign, but there was still questions about how he'd hold up in a 7-game series. And Jalen Williams looked like a rising second option, but most casual fans couldn't even tell you what team the guy played for. That was the perception of the OKC Thunder. The kind of team you'd love to see in the second round, but not a group anybody was circling in red ink come June. But the Thunder, well, they never played like a team that was waiting for their turn. Because from opening night, it was clear they weren't here to build towards something, they were here to take it. They played fast, but it was never rushed. They were confident, but never reckless. And their chemistry, it looked like a group that had been through 5 playoff runs together, not one still figuring things out. There was no superstar ego, no need for one guy to dominate every night, just a roster that showed up, played hard, and beat you. And the wins started to stack. At first, it looked like a hot start, but then the All-Star break came and went, and they were still there. Not hanging around near the top, they were sitting on it. And what they did by the end of the regular season wasn't just impressive, it was flat out historic. Let's start with point differential, one of the most predictive stats in all of basketball. It doesn't care about your reputation, it doesn't care about your market size. It just tells you game after game how often you beat teams and by how much. Now, OKC finished the season with a point differential of 12.9, which isn't just the best in the league this year, that is the best ever. Better than the 2017 Warriors, better than the 96 Bulls, and better than any squad that Shaq and Kobe ever played for. Every single team in that conversation went on to win a title. Oh, and did I mention, they finished the season with 68 wins, that's tied for the 5th most in NBA history. And it's not like they coasted to get there either, as this year's Western Conference was one of the deepest we have seen in over a decade. But OKC didn't just survive that bloodbath, in fact, they pulled away. They secured the top seed, not with a tiebreaker, not by a game or two, but with the largest gap between first and second place in NBA history. And if all of that wasn't enough, their record against the East was even more absurd at 29-1, yet again, best in league history. They didn't just beat the Eastern Conference, they crushed them. And those teams that they'll likely be having to face in the finals, they've already handled them. So no, this wasn't a fluke or a feel-good season, it wasn't some overachieving young team that caught fire. This was pure dominance from start to finish. And when you stack all of that together, the point differential, the win total, the dominance over both conferences, the historical separation from the pack, it becomes harder and harder to keep asking that same question of are they for real? Because at some point, the question isn't about if they're ready, it's about why no one's treating them like they already are.
All of these teams, except for the Lakers, I would be surprised if they got to the NBA Finals.
If you told me Thunder have already won 64 games.
Yeah, and I would be surprised. What have I been saying all year long about OKC? They gotta show me.
Now, you'd think after putting together one of the most dominant regular seasons the league has ever seen, the Thunder would be the obvious pick to win it all. But like I said, somehow they're not. Despite everything they accomplished, OKC is barely edging out Boston in most sports books, and even on some platforms, they're not even in first. And if you listen to the conversation around the league, Boston is still the safe pick, the real contender if you may.
Now, I will say this. The Boston Celtics are going to win the NBA championship.
And we all know why. Because at this point, it's not about what the Thunder have done, it's about what people are still not ready to believe. Because never mind that Gilgeous-Alexander led the league in fourth quarter scoring. Never mind that he's the front runner for MVP and has been the best player on the best team in the NBA all season long. And never mind that their defense is elite, their depth is overwhelming, and their coach is one of the sharpest minds in the league. None of that seems to matter because when people picture a champion, they don't see OKC. They see what's familiar, the Bostons, the Denvers, the LeBrons, or the Stephs. And I totally get it, that's just human nature. People fall back on what they know. But history tells us that kind of bias doesn't last. In fact, it fades the moments the playoffs begin. Because we said the exact same things about the 2015 Warriors. That same team that was too young, too system-based, that hadn't proven anything. And then they won 67 games, ran through the postseason, and started a dynasty. That's my point here. That's exactly what the Thunder feel like right now. And maybe they haven't had their arrival moment yet, but you can feel it building, and if you open your eyes, you can see it. This is not a team that needs your belief because they've done everything short of winning the whole thing. They're not being ignored anymore, but they're still not being feared the way that they should be. And if you're still asking whether this team is real, you are already too late. Because the Thunder didn't sneak into contention, they walked in through the front door. They weren't supposed to be here yet, but they are, and they might be here for a long time. So whether you still believe in Boston, whether you're hoping Denver makes another run, or whether you're still waiting for a superstar to flip the switch and take over, just understand this. The Thunder are already here, and they've already proven that they can win it. And whether the world is ready to admit it or not, this NBA postseason has already been decided.